Our live. Hey guys. So let's talk about one of the most vilest person that happens to inhabit the internet space. The person of Candace Owens. She's just such a I don't know, she's just such a toxic and vile person whose only stake is to spread misery and attack people for silly reasons, for stupid reasons. And once she's gotten her teeth onto a specific target, she doesn't let go. She just goes on and on and on and on. And first, she started with black people, calling them, they want to be in the Democrat plantation and all that stuff. And then she moved to Jewish people. She's had her teeth sunk. She'd sunk her teeth on Jewish people for quite a while. Then she moved to, I think, the wife of the French president, and now she's moved to Kamala Harris, and she's been waging this campaign of hate, as I'll put it, against Kamala Harris, saying she's not black. Of all the things to be of all the things to be angry about, of all the things to make an issue about, is to say Kamala Harris is not black. Lee Clinton is saying she's right though. She's right about Kamala Harris though. She's right that Kamala Harris isn't black. Well, let's see that. Let's try and understand what our argument is and whether it makes any sense to say whether Kamala Harris is black or not. So a few days ago, she did a show, and then there've been clips of it on Twitter, on Facebook, or whatever social media site that you can have it, talking about her proof that Kamala Harris isn't black. Now, first, for me, the first thing is that why does it even matter whether Kamala Harris is black or not? What's the relevance of that? Now, some people might say the relevance of that is that she is trying to curry favor with black people so that they vote for her. But Kamala Harris doesn't need to do that to even get the black vote. Most black people, they vote Democrats anyway, so it doesn't really make any sense that she would want to, try to curry favor from black people by posing as though she's black. So let's look at the claims made by the Wicked Witch of the West, as I'll call her, Klandace Owens. I'll just share my screen and then I'll react to the video that I have here. So let's go.
Now, there's even more proof, of course, that at the very least, the bare minimum, Kamala Harris is not black. It isn't just Janet Jackson. Funny who the media picks on and who the media stays away from. Because Judge Joe Brown has the credentials. This is a person that they know is intelligent, has had a talk show on TV, I guess you could say a judge show on TV for a very long time.
So Judge Joe Brown has a show on TV that makes him the epitome of truth. That makes that everything that comes out of his mouth is true. That's going to be literally true. I mean, this is just appealing to authority. Maybe Judge Joe Brown, whatever he's going to say about Kamala Harris, maybe there is something, maybe he has his own, there's something for him that is going to make him say whatever things that he wants to say about Kamala Harris. So appealing to authority is in no way fact, is in no way the basis of truth, right? You have to come with something much more substantive than just saying, because this person of authority, this figure of authority says something, then it must be true.
And many of you guys were emailing me clips of him on the show discussing the fact that he knew Kamala's father and that he just simply knows that the family is not black. Take a listen to this first clip.
So the first thing, I know myself and my good friend Ada, we had a stream about this about 2 years ago where we talk, what does it mean to be black? That's a very interesting question. Black, 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 white, black. What exactly does it mean to be black? At least from my understanding in the US context, it means someone who is of partial African ancestry. So whether you are descended from slaves or whether you are an immigrant from Africa, or as long as there is some sort of African ancestry there, then that's it. You're black. At least if you go back to the one drop rule and all those things, which is still the basis of racial classification in America. By that sense, someone is black. So we're going to just suppose that against the evidence that Klandace Owens is going to provide to show that Kamala Harris isn't black, which is a silly thing. All right, let's go.
Before we jump into the second one.
She was everybody's favorite Hindu Indian prosecutor and attorney general and senator, and now she becomes black. But, I met her daddy, fine gentleman, Professor Harris. And the problem with her being black is Professor Harris says he's Caucasian, mixed Irish and Hindu. He doesn't have any black ancestors, but his Irish ancestors owned a lot of slaves in Jamaica and had them to work on plantation. So if mama is on the birth certificate listed as a Caucasian, daddy says he's a Caucasian Hindu and has no black ancestors. How did she get to be black?
Now that's a very interesting question. I mean, if as as this man is saying, if her father is Caucasian, right? How did she get to be black? Uh, so I'm just going to show a picture, and maybe just go to the Wikipedia page of Kamala Harris's father and see what it says. You know, what does it say about his race? What does it say? You can just even look at him and tell yourself, what would this person be perceived as racially, especially in the United States? Okay, so this is it. This is what he says. He said, Donald Jasper Harris is a Jamaican American economist and emeritus professor at Stanford University, known for applying post Keynesian ideas to development of economics. He was the first Black scholar granted tenure in the Stanford Department of Economics, and he is the father of Kamala Harris, the incumbent vice president of the United States. So this is the dude. This is the guy. This is the guy who is Caucasian. I mean, race is by self-identification, so he can literally identify as whatever he wants to identify as. But how do you think people would perceive someone like this in America? Do you think people will perceive him as Caucasian? I mean, look at the hair, look at the skin tone. Would people in America perceive this man as Caucasian, even though he claims to be Caucasian? I don't know. But maybe, these things are getting weirder and weirder by the day. Right. So this is literally saying he's a black man, right? So now another thing might be to say, well, he's Jamaican, is not African American, is not descended from African American slaves. So by that context as well, you can say that someone like Barack Obama isn't black because he isn't descended from African American slaves. His father is Kenyan, his mother is white. So if you want to use black in the context of black refers to people who are descended from African American slaves, then someone like Barack Obama would not be black, and so many other quote unquote African Americans would not be black. But I don't think that's the context in which Candace Owens is saying Kamala Harris isn't black. She's saying that his father is, quite literally, from what this man is saying, his father is Caucasian, and her father is Caucasian, and her mother is Hindu. Yes, I don't think it's disputed that her mother is Hindu. And if she grew up with her mother, she probably grew up around Indian culture more. So she probably identified more with being Indian. But that doesn't take away the fact that, according to the the racial cultural milieu of the United States of America, that she would be perceived as black because of her father being black. Now there's a point. I don't know if you'll make it in this video. There's a point later on where Candace Owens is going to show that Kamala Harris had to present someone who is not her grandmother as her grandmother, a black woman who is not her grandmother as her grandmother, just to prove that she's black. And I'm like, what's the point of that? Why does she need to present a grandmother as being black when she could literally just show her father and say, "This is my father. So what do you think he is, and what do you think I am?"
I mean, the math is not mathing. How did she become black? It doesn't make sense. Okay. It only makes sense if you stole the identity of the help, which is so sick, so twisted, so diabolical, so offensive that we demand a response to this. Like I said,
Who are you to demand a response to someone's family history, someone's claim about themselves, someone's claim about their identity? If someone says, "Oh, this is my grandmother," who are you to demand a response to that? It's literally none of your business, right? So for Candace Owens to feel this entitled to say Kamala Harris owes her an explanation or owes anybody an explanation about her family, is just silly. I mean, this is just, she's just trying to drum up things from nowhere, things that literally they have no consequence whatsoever in the conversation in terms of how the presidential election is going to go. It has no bearing on whether she's able to perform her job or not. So I really, really do not see the point of trying to prove whether or not she's black. And besides, isn't race by self-identification in the US? She could literally identify as whatever the hell she wants to identify as.
Black votes.
Think, never think.
Ridiculous. Her because the media simply decided to make her black, to essentially wave a little Harry Potter wand and go, oh, okay, we just need you to be black because we need those black votes.
Think, never think.
Ridiculous.
But what is it to Klandace Owens? I mean, she is just reinforcing the stereotype that black people would only vote based on sentiment. That's what she's essentially saying, that black people will vote for her because she's black. So therefore, we have to disprove that she's not black. We have to prove that she's not black so that black people don't vote for her. So this is like a double insult. You are insulting black people and telling them that the only reason why they want to vote for Kamala Harris is the fact that she's black. So you are trying to convince your people that they're simpletons. You're trying to convince them and say, you know what, this person is not one of us, so don't vote for her. But your point, the point you're essentially making is that that's the only reason why they would want to vote for her.
Right? And you're okay with that? You should really re-examine your life. You should deeply.
I think Klandace Owens is the one that needs to re-examine her life. Trying to prove someone's race, which is a fictional thing in the first place. Trying to prove or disprove something as, her identity. It's her business, for crying out loud. This is so silly.
Spiritually search within yourself to determine what is wrong with you, that you would allow this sleight of hand to allow to compel you to vote for this woman, despite her horrific record, by the way, of a lot.
Now she's revealing herself. She's making the point that, it's not as if black people are saying we're going to vote for her because she's black. It's not as if black people are saying we're going to vote for any black person just because they're black. Klandace Owens is making that assertion for them. She's preempting black people by saying that black people would naturally vote for a black person. So she's trying to prevent that from happening. She's not trying to say, don't vote for her because of the color of her skin. She's saying she isn't black, therefore don't vote for her. Does it make any sense? I mean, for conservatives who are also they're so pious about this identity thing. We don't play identity politics. She's literally playing identity politics, trying to prove someone's race or disprove someone's race.
Locking up black men. Who is this woman? 2 parents that were committed communists. Who is this woman? And that's not all.
Okay, so what? Someone's parents were communists. Does that make them a communist? Do you know how silly this sounds? This is like imputing the sin of the father on the child. Just like when white people say, just because my ancestors owned slaves doesn't mean I'm guilty or responsible for what my ancestors did. That's literally what Klandace Owens is doing now. It's Kamala. If you are going to say Kamala Harris is a communist and there's evidence and there's proof to show that she's a communist, fine, good, makes sense. But to say that you shouldn't trust her because her parents were communists makes no sense. Makes literally no sense, because you are imputing a characteristic, you're imputing something that their parents did on the child. It makes no sense.
Joe Brown had to say in the matter of Kamala Harris. Take a listen.
And the birth certificate that she has is interesting because the confusion comes from a mistake. On the birth certificate, it lists the mother's race as Caucasian, national origin into India, and religion Hindu. For the father, it does not list national origin. It does not list religion. It does not list anything about that, but where it says race, they put national origin in Jamaica by mistake. Now, if you've ever been to Jamaica, a little bit over the...
So how do you know it was by mistake? Were you there when she was born? Were you there when you were writing the birth certificate to know that this is a mistake? So I hope that he has more evidence to show that they made a mistake in writing Jamaica in the certificate of Kamala Harris.
St. Elizabeth Parish, you see all the hybrid in white. They live in Jamaica. So I've got a good
So
friend.
now I've got to ask a question. Has anybody actually disproven that the man, Donald J. Harris, has anybody proven or disproven that he is not Kamala Harris's father? Has anybody done that? If that man is Kamala Harris's father, that is unmistakably black by US standards.
Friend retired from law enforcement. He has a white wife, blonde hair, blue eyes, but she was born in Jamaica. Her parents were born in Jamaica. One's blonde and blue eyed, the other one's red haired and gray.
Circumstantial, not direct. This you're talking about someone else. You're not talking about the family. So what? There are white people in Jamaica. So also there are white people in the US. Doesn't mean there are no black people there. Most of the people in Jamaica are descended from Africans. So what?
Eyed, and they happen to be related to the King of England because they are aristocrats in England, but they were born in Jamaica. It's not unusual. You're not black just because you're from Jamaica, and they have a whole lot of white people that never left, and their ancestors owned a lot of slaves. The Maroons went up into the hill country and got themselves free back in the 1840s, but other than that, it is what it is in Jamaica. So just because you're from that country does not mean you are of the black race. So the problem is why don't you go get your daddy to give you an affidavit that you have a black ancestor? And since the only possible claim you have is through your great grandmother, who he says was a Hindu house servant that just happens to be swarthy, where'd you get your blackness from? See,
She's doing like this is some sort of groundbreaking revelation that's just been said. So so she has to go and get an affidavit from her father to show that she's black or to show that he's black. The silliness.
you're faking it again.
But
Hindu house.
but you know what? In all of this, it's a very simple thing. If you think Kamala Harris is lying about her race, and if you think because of that, you can't vote for her, you have a right to not vote for her. That's as best as it gets. That's the only thing you can do. All this is just noise and nonsense, right? Because it's not supposed to matter that she's black, except you are saying that it does matter in US politics and it should matter that she's black or not black. So why isn't Candace Owens talking about her policies? Why isn't she talking about things that are much more substantive to the election? Why isn't she talking about her record as whatever? Apart from the fact that she said, "Oh, she locked up black men." So what? Those black men that she locked up, were they innocent black men? Were they criminal black men? If they were criminal black men, then they should be locked up. And the fact that Kamala Harris was locking them up doesn't say anything about her character. It just shows that she was doing her job, right? So she locked up black men, so she must be anti-black. There are black people who are anti-black. Doesn't make them not black. Nonsense.
Servant is what they are alleging that Iris was. And I am telling you, the fact that I just picked up on that in a vibe in a picture, do not tell me women do not have good gut instincts. I was just like,
yeah, you're a witch. That's why you picked up on that. Anyway, you're still wrong anyway, despite being a witch. And I don't, even if I don't really believe so much in, I'm not a very superstitious person. Candace Owens literally gives off witch vibes. Like she's such a vile person that's the kind of vibe I get from her. So she thinks that just by looking at the picture, she's able to discern that Kamala Harris's grandmother or alleged grandmother is not her grandmother. It's not a real grandmother. That must be the house help. She's just being presumptuous with no evidence whatsoever.
like there's just something about the photo. It just wasn't loving. It felt very much like the help who got close with the kids but didn't want to be too close to the kids because you never know when the mom's gonna get upset because you're too close to the kids, kind of a kid situation. You know what I mean?
Nah, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what the hell she means by any of that. Right. Imam Alfred says he was my professor. So Imam Alfred, how you doing? It's been a while. It's been a long time. I'd really like to know if Professor Harris was your professor. Is he black? What's his what's his deal in terms of race? I know race is all those other things. Yeah. So Lead says her father's mixed race, the mother is Indian. That does not equal black. How exactly does that not equal black in the US? How does that not equal black in the US? If someone has partial African ancestry in the US, isn't that essentially black? Aren't all the mixed race kids in America black? Isn't that the point of the one drop rule, which is still being used, unofficially today? So if our father is mixed race, like, what is he then? Is he white? Is he Caucasian? Because the whites are not going to accept him as being white because it's not purebred, it's not Northern European, it's not of the Nordic stock. They're not going to accept him as being white. So basically, he's raceless. Oh, that's good. That's actually a good thing for him to be raceless, right? Lead said that definition is incorrect. I'm black and I'm from America. So what definition is it? The definition I gave of someone who's of African ancestry being black. Say one drop rule was an indicator for white people in America, not black people. So what is the definition of black? What does it mean to be black? What does it mean to be black? Obama is darker than him and is biracial. So what? They are very light-skinned black people. Mm. Isn't that the point? They're very, very light-skinned black people. So is the point that the darker you are, is it really the shade of the skin that determines the shade of the blackness that determines someone who is black or not? Am I blacker than African Americans? I mean, I don't identify as black, even though I'm African, right? So, based on my skin tone of it being darker than many African Americans, does that make me blacker than them? I don't know. These definitions really don't make any sense to me. Um, Lead says he's genetically mixed race. People's perception doesn't matter. But that's the funny thing. Is there any such category as Is there an effective category called mixed race in America? Isn't there black? Isn't there white? Isn't there Asian and so many other things? Is there an effective category called mixed race? With Obama is being called a black man. Isn't he supposed to be in that category of mixed race? So why isn't he put in that category? Okay, someone like Drake as well. Why isn't he put in that category? So many other mixed race people who are called black. Why aren't they put in that category? Why is it so specific to Kamala Harris? Why is it such an issue now that's Kamala Harris somehow the criteria that most people have been using to determine who is black or who's not black somehow she I wish my friend that were here so we can discuss again. What does it mean to be black? Is it skin color? Is it culture? Is it heritage? Is it genetics? Is it what exactly does it mean to be black? This thing. Anyway, Lead says, "Are you a critical thinker or a Kamala fan?" I'm a critical thinker. I don't really care about Kamala, but when I look at the points that Klandace Owens is making about Kamala and the black and it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't have to like Kamala to say something about this, right? People just automatically think that, oh, because you are saying something that seems favorable to one person, I don't even see how this is favorable to Kamala Harris. I don't see how proving that she's black is going to be favorable to her. Kenta Wilson says she's not black. Well, that's your opinion. She's not black. Lead says identifying with literally anything is insanity. Well, Kenta keeps saying, but she's not black. Okay, I hear you. She's not black. How is she not black? Why is she not black? But we need to define what black is to even get this conversation going. We need to understand, what does it mean to be black? I wish Stanley were here so Stanley could tell me what it means to be black, right? I wish my African American friends were here. I wish Wolf was here to tell me, what does it mean to be black? Lead is saying many people like you who think she's black will vote for her for those reasons, or the fact that she's a woman. That's your thinking. You are projecting your thinking on other people. You are the one that has that mentality of, oh, because she's black, I have to vote for her because she's black. Maybe for some other reasons, or because she's a woman, I have to. It might just, some people might want to vote for her because they don't like Trump. That might just be the reason. I mean, I haven't been a fan of Kamala Harris. I used to call her, Kamala the Uganda nightmare after Jericho Green. Jericho Green is a black YouTuber too who calls her that. That was for the longest time. That was what I was calling. That was what I was calling Kamala Harris. Right? But somehow she has grown on me. I think, is she the is she possibly the best candidate out there that the Democrats could have picked? I don't think so. But I think she's way better than Trump. I think she's better than Trump, right? And this is for someone who had literally idolized Trump for a very long time. Trump is just such a shitty character. So many people can decide to say we're voting for her because we don't like the other person, not necessarily because she's a woman, not necessarily because she's black. Because I can say for a fact that Hillary Clinton was a woman; she didn't win the election. There are many other black people who have contested for president and they did not win it. So what? If this black thing is such a powerful tool to win an election, why haven't we had more black females as presidents in the US? Why all of a sudden now, in the case of Kamala Harris, it's a point that needs to be disproved so that she doesn't win an election. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Kenta keeps saying she's not black, but you haven't told me, why she's not black. You said Kenta says she's stupid and she'll never be pregnant. That's your claim. She's stupid. How? Why? Give me proof. You're just making a claim. Oh, she's this, she's that. And, Imam Alfred says she was my professor. Stanley's here. Stanley, how? Stanley said, I decided to become transracial, Charles. Black these days is more culture plus heritage. Mixed race is as nascent as a category in the US. I don't like Trump, therefore Kamala. Yeah, literally, it's Stanley. I'd like to have a conversation with Stanley. It's been a while, so let me just put the link in the chat and let Stanley come up. I want him to tell me what it means to be black, right? Because it seems I'm getting things wrong based on what Lead and some other persons are saying here. I don't know what it means to be black. Some people think it's because someone who is dark. Obama is dark skinned, even though he's has a one white parent, so he qualifies as black. But somehow Kamala Harris doesn't qualify as black because she's Indian and her father is quote unquote Caucasian. Which, if you see him, there's no way you're going to mistake him for Caucasian. So I don't know. Hey Stanley, how you doing?
Hey Charles, how you doing?
I'm good. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while.
Yeah.
This is actually rather interesting. Lead and I disagree. We talk on another channel about this sort of thing. I think these days, and I think traditionally, it has been one drop rule, and I think that's still the operating factor in the United States. We lean heavily on phenotype, which kind of leads into the one drop rule. But I actually think, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't really have anything to back it up. It's just a bunch of things that I've read that I'm making an implication from. I think these days it's really more heritage and culture. Because we've had Rachel Dolezals of the world. We've had one or two other people that I know of that claim to be black, and they go back and do a 23andMe or something, of that sort, and determine, oh, hey, this person's a fraud. I actually think, it's kind of a hybrid of Sheena Mason's racelessness. I think you should just pick a race, or pick none. If you want to be black and you think you're black, you say you're black, then you're black. It would make life a lot easier.
Yeah,
that is risque.
But I don't get this vitriol. I mean, this vitriol that this kind of personal crusade that some black people have taken upon themselves to prove that Kamala Harris isn't black. I mean, what's with that?
It is all bullshit. Okay, these black people claiming that Kamala isn't black are just following their leader, Trump. Trump said it, therefore they, want to grab a hold of it, and it serves several purposes. A, it kind of proves, I think the false point that America is trans or post-racial. It's not. It's still the same as it ever was. And it's a way of basically discrediting. It's more saying Kamala isn't black is more a political point than anything else, and that's my opinion. But they're just saying it, because they want to dispel the notion that black people always vote black or vote Democrat or what have you. It's a political point.
Yeah, I see. And, I think you're right, because most of the people making this claim are usually, most of the black people making this claim are right wing black people or conservative black people, right leaning black people. They are everywhere on Twitter
Yes.
just pushing this crusade. They've even pushed it so far as to say Barack Obama isn't black as well, because he's
They want to
descended from
push that
American
point.
slaves. Yeah, they
I
have
think
on Twitter.
they have a minor point in that, in the old days, and maybe still, because I'm using the one drop rule, a lot of this has to do with heritage. Okay, Barack Obama does not have an ADOS heritage, and
Hmm.
neither does Kamala.
Hmm.
Okay, and then you also, a lot of Caribbeans especially, they'll come to America and say, hey, I'm not black, meaning
Hmm.
they don't have an American heritage. They are beyond, the trifling, racial arguments that, America has traditionally had. So there's a kernel of truth if you dig deep enough. They don't have
Yeah.
slave heritage on American soil, so you can make the argument that they aren't real black. When they say they're not black, they mean they're not real black. They're not.
Mm.
They can't trace their ancestry back to American slavery. But I think it's
Yeah.
more
So
rhetorical than anything.
yeah, so I get that point. I mean, I get that distinction. I make that, I can understand that distinction, right? So which brings me back to the point of how do people use black in the US in the general context, right? When, if for example, in a political discussion or even in an interaction, how is black being used? Is it used in an ethnic sense to denote people of African American, people who are descended from African American slaves, or is it used broadly to refer to people who are phenotypically of African heritage, whether they are Jamaican, whether they're Nigerian, whether they are African Americans, and all that? How is it? What is the?
It's
How is it mostly
contextual.
used? Okay.
It's contextual. I would say, I have occasionally, more than I do, like white people saying, "Well, I'm more black than you are, Stanley."
Mm,
In that case, it's really not. It's more a culture thing that they're that
mm,
they're talking about. So it just depends on the context. And I'm actually half serious when I say, you know what? Um, I have a friend who's from Somalia. He lives in Atlanta, in the hood in Atlanta.
mm,
And I have Somali friends who live, say, in England who say, I am not black. This guy in the hood in Atlanta says he is
mm,
black, and they all
mm,
come from Somalia. So
mm.
a lot of it is just the culture. You decide to, run your life by. So
Yeah,
it's many things. It's not just one thing. And
yeah.
therefore it gets real muddled, when people try and use the term or nail the actual meaning down. It means
Mm.
everything and it means nothing at the same time.
Exactly, which is weird, considering the fact that Klandace Owens is demanding a response, demanding an explanation from Kamala Harris to prove her blackness. Like, if this
Well,
can mean different things in different contexts, then why does she have to prove that?
Candace Owens is basically, playing politics. So I'm not sure, she is not the arbiter of blackness in America. Okay, black people don't deny that Hitler, made the trains run on time. I'm going to argue. I'm going to argue that black people are smarter than Candace. Therefore, she's
Yeah,
not
I think
black.
so. That's a good one. I mean, she's just such a vile person. I mean, she's so revulsive. She never spreads joy. She never spreads anything,
Right.
anything positive. She's always looking at. She's always. I don't know. It's like she thrives on hate. She just wants to say things that get people riled up, and it's. I don't know.
Well,
It's crazy.
lead will kick my butt on this, and I'm sure several other people in the audience will kick my butt on this. But the one thing Kamala has not done, and it's been commented upon in the pundocracy, or whatever they call it, punditocracy. Um, Two things she's done different is she has not made any major gaffes. Now, part of it is she's been real judicious in her interview schedule. She hasn't
Mm,
made a whole lot of gaffes, that people can make commercials on. The other
yeah.
thing is, I actually think when she laughs, she's actually laughing. To the point, the point I want to make is one of her, planks in the platform was joy, and I actually
Mm,
think to a certain extent she is having fun with it. Okay. When
mm.
she laughs, people call her goofy and, she cackles and all this stuff, but
Yeah,
she
she does.
laughs. That's something you don't see a lot of politicians do.
Yeah.
Same
So
thing with,
so so maybe that's why it seems off. If because if politicians are known to be stuck up and she's out here laughing,
mhm.
it in a way it makes her seem unserious, like almost
Yes,
unpolitician,
absolutely.
unpresidential.
Yep. And you know what? She's not my favorite candidate. I actually think
Yeah.
there were probably better, but she was
Yeah.
in the position as vice president. She was kind of a natural heir.
Mm,
Everybody fell in line, and whether she wins or loses, she has not disappointed. She has not run a bad campaign, and that Donald Trump is neck to neck with an ethnic, we'll just say ethnic woman. He's not pulling away ahead in America, which tends to be misogynist and racist. Um, he's a uniquely bad candidate.
yeah.
Any other
And
candidate would be running away with this.
yeah.
And
And
people poo poo when I say that. They think I'm crazy when I say it, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Donald
yeah,
Trump
I
is a
think
uniquely bad candidate. That's
yeah.
why he's neck to neck. And she didn't even run the whole race. She's just been
Mhm.
running for 3 months, and she pulled even with it.
Mm.
So,
I mean, I think
you know,
she has sort of exceeded my expectations because you know me. Prior to now, I didn't think Kamala Harris was a serious person. I actually thought she was. I thought she was very dim because there were usually these clips of her just saying things and going around in circles, just repeating the
hmm
same thing over and over and over again. So that was my impression of her. And when she was announced to be the nominee, I went on Substack and I said, the Democrats just made the biggest mistake of their political career. They've handed the presidency to Donald Trump on a platter of gold. But seeing how well she has run her campaign with the choices she's made so far, she might not be the best in terms of speaking, but I think she's an effective leader in how she's able to build the collaboration and how she's able to if she runs the country the way she's run her campaign, she's going to be a fantastic president because I think she listens to people and she's getting
yeah,
smart people around her. And that's exactly what a leader is supposed to be. A leader is not supposed to be the brightest. The leader is supposed to have an instinct for listening to advice, for
right.
gathering the best people around themselves and making the most out of any situation. That's what a leader is
Well,
supposed to be. So
I'll
I
put
think
it
she's
to you
done
this
well so
way.
far.
I think I've heard people who are dyed in the wool, Trump people, who have listened to one or two of her interviews, and they say, hey, you know what? They'll nitpick a little bit, but overall, they are impressed with her interviews. And these are people who come in, basically hate watch. So, even if she loses and she's not out of the race by any means. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I saw something yesterday where in some swing states she's 1 or 2 points ahead. It's going to be very close.
Mm.
I think the difference between her in 2024 and 2019 is that she is running on what she knows. Okay,
Yep.
she was kind of running as someone else back when she ran against Biden. I don't think she's naturally prone to go and be bitter and calling Trump. I'm sorry, calling Biden a racist. I don't think that's her natural tendency.
Yeah.
The one thing she has not done, which has pissed a lot of people off, she's not running as a black candidate.
Yes.
She's running as less a black
Yes.
candidate than
Yes.
Obama did.
And
She's
that's
not
pissing
falling
people
into that
off.
pitfall. Oh, it is
Yeah.
pissing them off. She's not
It's
falling into that race trap.
they don't know what to do with that. They don't know what to do
Exactly.
with the fact that
She's not
she
even she's
isn't
not
playing the
even
race
running.
card.
She's not even running with the woman card.
Yeah. And they're still pissed. They're
Yep.
still
Yep.
pissed.
They
These
got
people are
what
so
they wanted.
sad.
They got what they wanted. She's not running as a woman. She's not. Well, I mean, of course, woman comes up, but she's not running a Hillary Clinton style.
Yeah.
Where my purse is, and what I have in my purse is a big political issue. You remember the hot sauce thing?
Yeah.
Um, she's running as a presidential candidate, and you're right. It is confounding some folks. And the voters, most of all, and my black voters, I think it's confounding them. She's not pandering. The only pandering she's done is like Megan the Stallion in Atlanta.
Mm.
That's about the only
Yeah.
pandering she's done, and I wouldn't have even done that, to be honest.
Mm. It's that's why I say I'm sort of impressed with what she's done so far. And hey, if black people want to deny you, no problem. I mean, what's there to lose? I mean, it's not like um, embracing the black label is going to automatically make her win the election. So the fact that she isn't bringing up race, she isn't bringing up agenda, fantastic strategy. And this is what blows my mind about US politics at this point. With a candidate as bad as Trump, this shouldn't even be a contest. I mean, with 2016 Trump isn't the Trump we're seeing now. 2016 Trump was kind of unknown. He was sort of fresh to the political scene. Um, he was like a breath of fresh air in some sense, right? But the Trump of today is well known. His political
Yeah,
career is
we
known.
know his record, and quite frankly,
Exactly.
it actually that it's a close race. Honestly, is not that surprising to me. America is even more so than I was growing up. America is very A or B these days, black or white. One or two, or zero or one. You either think Trump is the answer or you don't. And you know who Hood Servative is, right?
Who?
You
What?
may not. Hood Servative. He's got a YouTube show.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
um
Yeah, I've seen
he
him.
he basically has said, hey, you know what? He basically says he's more a fascist than even a conservative because he thinks we need basically a benign dictator to, basically someone who is above the government, can kind of order things the way, quote, it should be. And they're okay with giving up some of their freedoms to get it done, at least in the short term. And I
But
think
it's
that's a
an
huge mistake.
it's an
It's a huge
oxymoron. You can't
mistake.
have a benign dictator. Being a dictator itself, there's nothing
Well,
benign
I
about
mean,
being a dictator.
I actually think you could have a philosopher king, but Trump isn't. temperamentally inclined or enlightened enough to be a philosopher king. And the thing is power corrupts. Okay, that is the one truism about human nature. If you give someone, no matter how good they are, you give someone that kind of power, it's gonna corrupt them because humans are prone to take shortcuts.
Yep.
So um, that half of America, somewhere around half of America, thinks that we need someone like Trump to just kind of take the wheel and give back. What they're assuming is that he will write things, put things in
Mm.
order, then do a George Washington and step away from it. I think they are sadly mistaken. There was
Yeah.
only one George Washington.
I mean, the guy who tried to overturn the 2020 election, who did not commit to a peaceful transfer of power, that guy is going to, nah,
Yeah,
guys are dreaming.
yeah, I agree. And you know what? I'll give you an interesting thing. I was talking to someone the other night, and we were talking about Trump wanting to go back and use an old the Alien and what is it? The Alien Act. Basically, the Alien and Sedition Acts are like a 1798 thing. Basically, the act would allow foreigners. Uh, Basically, you declare people who aren't citizens an enemy, say they're from an enemy country, and
Mm.
you can just deport them carte blanche. So, if America, to make America great again means going back to 1798, that just doesn't make sense on the face of it. And then when I brought this up, you know what this Trump supporter said? Oh, you're taking him seriously. Everybody knows that Trump has a sense of sarcasm. So I asked him, so you're saying me as a non-Trump supporter actually believes Trump's word? When he says it, he means it. And you as a Trump supporter are saying he
Yeah.
doesn't mean it. How
Yeah.
how how reverse, how upside down is this when your supporter thinks you're kidding and your non-supporter takes you at your word? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there was one. I think there was one show that Trump did, and there was a commentator that just said, "Oh, Trump was he this was a master class in comedy." And I was like, "Is this guy running for clown of the year, or is he running for president of the
Yes,
US?" Because he
exactly.
is running for
Exactly.
clown of the year. He has no rivals. I mean, there's no beating him with that. But being president is serious business, and even when I was so into Trump then in post 2016, I was still very, 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 very MAGA Trump and all those things. One thing that really got to me initially was almost immediately after I became president, him attacking the intelligence agencies and attacking the military. I was like, whoa, 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 dude, you're the president now. Those are your guys. Why are you attacking them again? This doesn't make any sense. And then he spends most of his tenure fighting with reporters, fighting with everybody. I mean,
Yes.
he probably one of the reasons why Trump probably couldn't go fuck up other parts of the world was because he was too busy fighting with reporters to even think of doing it, causing damage outside America like some other US presidents would have done. Not because he's such a good leader. He was so focused on nonsense that actually was good for the world.
Well, the two
It's
things.
irony.
Number two things though. Trump has basically spent the last week saying that he thinks the biggest enemy in America or to America is within its borders. And number two, Trump spent his administration not just fighting with reporters, he was fighting with people in his own administration. I mean,
Yep.
there were basically, all these people who actually worked closely with Trump are saying, hey, we were the ones who, basically either wouldn't do what he wanted or advised him, hey, that's illegal. Trump's own administration was his own check and balance.
Thank
So,
God.
this time he basically is committed to bringing in a bunch of loyalists. He wants to gut the administrative state, fire all the career civil servants, and bring in his crowd as political appointees. That in and of itself should scare people, because once he does that, it's irreversible. Once you break
Yeah.
it, you can't fix it.
Yeah.
So the thing that struck me about Trump supporters is they have a blind faith that Trump will do the right thing, and
Mm.
nobody deserves that much faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
No human.
I
So
think I think you've summed it up perfectly, Stanley. And I think this would be a very good place to draw this conversation to a close. We've talked
okay,
about
yeah.
Klandace Owens and her, attack of Kamala Harris and all that. So thank you so
Well, did
much,
you hear
Stanley,
about
for coming to the
Australia,
show
right?
tonight.
Did you hear about her
Australia, what's up?
Australia's? Well, she had like a 5 event thing planned in Australia,
Oh, they
and
banned her,
because of
right?
yeah. So
Yeah, I heard of that.
yeah, well, I think Candace, she's a little bit more popular than she was, I think, maybe 2 years ago, but I actually think she's a candle in the wind. Enough people see, her for who she is, that
Mhm.
she's probably reached the pinnacle of her influence. At least I hope.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. But you can never underestimate human stupidity because
Well, you can never underestimate America. We'll figure out how to screw it up.
All right, Stanley. Thank you so much, and
All right.
talk to you
Thank you,
soon.
Charles.
All right,
It's good
so
talking
guys,
to you.
that's the
Bye.
end of the stream. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in another live stream. It's bye for now.